What is the National Law Journal's go-to law school list for our readers?
So what we're doing with the go-to list is we take the law schools that law firms recruited from the most, and what we look at is how popular those schools were and how many of their students, actually what percentage of their students went to NLJ 250 law firms. NLJ 250 law firms are the National Law Journal's ranking of the top, the largest law firms in the nation, and we look at where they got their first-year associates.
So what school topped the list is the favorite place to hire first-year associates from?
The top of the list this year is Columbia Law School. Some 70.5 of its graduates went to NLJ 250 law firms, and that's a big percentage. You know, one of the surprises this year was that, and we're looking at recruiting for 2008, and one of the surprises was that law firms recruited about the same percentage from the go-to list as they did in 2007. And when you think about it, the economy began its downslide in 2008, so you would think that they would recruit a smaller percentage, yet they didn't. And I think this shows us something about the recruiting mechanism in law firms, and that is that they go to these law schools to recruit these students, but they're showing up during the first semester of their second year, and they're trying to measure what their requirements are going to be, how many associates they're going to need 2 years out. Well, if they had known what was going to happen in 2008 and 2009, in 2006, when they were interviewing these people, I think we would have seen a much different picture.
What were some of the other schools on the list besides Columbia?
We had University of Virginia Law School, we had NYU, Harvard. One of the schools we didn't see was Yale, and one would think, because it's such a well-known, well-respected school, the story there is that a lot of those law school graduates at Yale, some 40%, they go to do judicial clerkships. And so, you know, you kind of have to keep that in mind. And that's something that we also did track this year as well.
Okay, so we had the Yale off the list. How about any new schools on the list?
Yeah, we had Fordham University School of Law new to the list this year. And we talked to the dean there and asked him about the school's performance this year. And he said that they've really tried to make a concerted effort to reach out to the large law firms to get their students placed in those schools, in those firms.
Okay, and what about schools where graduates go directly to clerkships?
We asked the law firms how many of their associates came directly from judicial clerkships. And one of the things we found that Wilmer Cutler, Pickering, Hale, and Dorr was one of the firms that took in the most judicial clerkships, and they took in 35. Covington and Burling was another law firm that took in a lot of associates from judicial clerkship.
Okay. Among the very largest firms, what were some of the favorite schools?
It's interesting to look at where law firms concentrate their recruiting, because you know, I think it depends on who's in charge of hiring. They tend to go to particular schools. Obviously, Harvard is a big favorite among law firms. Kirkland and Ellis, for example, recruited a lot of folks from Harvard, as did Skadden, as did O'Melveny Myers. One of the larger law firms, the second largest, Baker and McKenzie, they recruited a lot from NYU. So we look at the highest concentration.
And what else does the go-to law school section include?
We have a story that's, it focuses on a recent trend among several law schools to adjust their evaluation practices, in other words, to adjust their grading systems. And some of the law schools have completely eliminated grading ABC kinds of grades. Others and have switched to pass-fail. Others have kind of tweaked theirs where they now will allow more A+s. And we get a couple of different messages from the law schools. One is that they feel like they needed to adjust their systems in order to allow for more distinctions among students, which is going to help the firms determine, you know, who they want. The other reason is that law schools say that they simply want a fair evaluation system.